I'd like to call this
Session.
budget work session for the Louisiana County Board of Supervisors to order. And our discussion today is the operation, maintenance, and capital improvement budget plan, and also outside agencies. Mrs. Colvin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Tonight, I figured we would start with going over in front of you. You have the outside agency request. You have last year's approved request, this year's request. There's a column that shows the variance over this year to last year, and then the Finance Committee met, and they've made their recommendations, and then it shows the variance from their recommendation to what they requested over last year. So that's what that is. We'll go down that one by one, if that's okay with y'all, and have conversation and discuss those. I brought this last time, but a summary of what the changes were. I gave you a copy of that from their write-ups. So I know you have the book that I gave you, and it's on the website, but I also brought you the summary again. And then we'll move into the capital, which the Planning Commission will go through on Thursday night, but I figured we could start any discussions y'all might want to have on that tonight. And then just the numbers here are into the operating worksheet, and y'all can view where we've landed.
Ms. Colvin,
Yes, sir.
are you here for an agency?
I represent Java, I'm just here.
Yeah. I just checking, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
She's an annual
I thought
attendee,
I recognized her, I just couldn't remember, so, okay. All right, I'm good.
and she live here.
No,
Yeah.
it's good, that's fine. I couldn't remember which agency you're with, I'm sorry, thank you.
So if it's okay with you guys, we'll just kind of go down the list, and y'all give me your thoughts. If you're good with what the Finance Committee recommended, if y'all want to make a change or make a discussion on that, then just let me know. The first two on the list are the Rappahannock Juvenile Center and the Central Virginia Regional Jail. We really can't change those. We're part of a regional.
Oh, we can,
Well-
it just has implications.
Yes, you can, yes. But these are what we're agreed on. We all have, each locality has
Ms. Colvin,
membership.
who's our liaison to the Rappahannock Juvenile Center?
Don't.
Mr.
Don't.
Goodwin,
Don't.
and then
Is
I'm
he-
the Finance Committee
that-
person.
That one went down like 25%, how'd that happen? Did Mr. Goodwin stay good?
Well, our numbers were way up, so I have been adding.
Serious.
Management, sir. Humble management.
Well, who's
care
our
about the
representative of
taxpayers.
Central Virginia Regional Jail who also went down? That would be me, but not as much as Mr. Goodwin's who went down, so.
All right.
I'm
Good
sorry, I
job.
just had to plug that one, that's all.
No
Thank you
problem.
for the vote, sir.
Shameless plug.
22, man, a quarter of a penny. Let's go.
Yeah, numbers have been going down there, so that's been nice. So I guess we'll start with the Thomas Jefferson EMS Council. They requested $20,800. Last year was $19,808, which is a difference of $992. If y'all are okay with that, or if you have any questions on that, just let me know.
Well, I would add, you reached out to them, the emergency medical services under the Virginia Department of Health statewide has been in the news a lot lately for all the wrong reasons. So if you could expand just briefly on why they still are worthy of that.
I understand. I did call and speak with Pepe, can't remember his last name. Am I? Thank you. Am I on? How about
Yeah,
this one?
just scoot it
Oh,
up to you,
okay,
it doesn't
sorry.
pick up.
And he explained to me, because I asked, with the RSF funding that we're not getting this year for equipment and the 4 for Life money we're not getting until they can sort through some stuff in Richmond at the state level and check everything out. What were they gonna do additional for us? Because they do help us find money for our equipment. And he said what they were doing, nothing else was gonna change. They were gonna continue to offer training, add more training, because the symposium hasn't happened in Virginia Beach this year, and next year it won't happen. And that gives a lot of training and certifications for our fire and EMS people. And they'll continue to do that. But since the other funding source isn't there, they're hunting for other sources and will help localities find it that way, so.
Okay.
So they still plan to business as usual, maybe not that one source, but they are looking for other to help us, and they're here for whatever we may need.
Well, I appreciate that. I just think it's important to say that because we're giving them $20,800 of taxpayer money and that we're still getting something in return.
Absolutely. So, any
Looks
comments on
good.
that, or we're good? Okay,
Yeah, we're
good,
good.
we'll
We're
keep
good.
going. Okay, next we have the Transportation Safety Commission. This is an internal kind of commission that we do, and that's the amount that they've been funded for a while. And that, with that one, if they don't spend it, it goes back. We don't send it out anywhere, we just pay the bills that go with it.
Okay.
Okay. Department of Health. Last year, they received $731,668. This year, $748,842 is the request. It's a difference of $17,174. The Finance Committee recommended, instead of the $17,000 over last year, doing $5,000 over last year. Mr. Williams?
I'd be happy to talk about that. This is mainly environmental health. They're not even in the septic permit making business no more, so we had a long conversation. They kept saying the word wells, and my comment to them was, well, all these AOSEs want to do these permits and they permit these wells, why don't you get them to inspect the wells too? And you ought to be pushing back that way and tell them they'll be doing that, so I just figured they'd figure out how to make it work.
I agree.
Okay.
So where you got, you got a 17,000,
Okay,
One
so
of-
I'll explain the columns. So they asked for $736,668, which is $17,174 more than last year. The Finance Committee recommends reducing their ask by
About 12,000 for a net of
$12,174.
5,000. You got to do the math out to
well,
decide,
I'm
Tommy.
trying
I'm
to figure.
sorry, it's
I heard it
$5,000. It's $5,000 increase over
Yeah.
last year.
five. I got
Yeah,
you.
you got to do the gazentas.
I needed to add another column, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay.
Before you move on, is there any questions on any of these to this point, or any concern about any of these to this
Yeah,
point?
Dwayne and I have been eating these things for a couple weeks now, so if you have questions, just stop us.
I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
And in general with all of these, not just the ones we've gone over so far. Looks like to me that there's potentially duplication with what some of these do. Some of them do multiple things along with something that the other one doesn't do. And I'm sorry, but giving out condoms and things like that, I'm not sure. I think that's what, but maybe all that stuff's mandated by the state. But anyway, it just looks like to me that some of these, as far as the health, the mental health parts of it, they do, some of them do the same things,
Well,
but then they have some things that they do different.
they do, and they're all outside agencies. They're not our internal agencies, and they come to us and ask for funding. And you're exactly right. And you speak about mental health. We took some of our, what's that money called?
Opioid abatement money.
Took some of our opioid abatement money last year, went to Region 10, said, we want you to hire a mental health professional. And you see that it's $77,000 less.
Right.
Because they can't hire one. They couldn't figure out how to get one hired. They didn't say we could hire one, but we need $10,000 more. They just couldn't get one hired. So the board recognized mental health as an issue that we need to deal with. We tried to help in a specific area. In fact, we went to them and said, look, we want to give you some extra money. That's what we did, to help with our mental health, because we had this opioid abatement money, and we can only spend it on certain things. We thought that was a good place to stick it, and they couldn't even get anybody hired. So it's interesting as you come through this, and then you got people that come in there, like the Foothills Child Advocacy Center. I mean, it's like, hey, let's see if we can stick our hat in the pot and see what happens. We don't know who they are. They've never done them before, and we just told them no. I mean, so
I got you.
it's not that they do bad work or they don't have a good cause, but at what point in time do you? And this list has been whittled and squeezed over the years since I've been here in 8 years, and we've done it a lot differently than we did in the past, I think. So.
And I think that's much appreciated by everybody. And so I just wanted to make that comment before we got too deep into it, because I don't want to make it every time.
Yes, sir.
Comment
It's a footnote for the whole page.
It's a comment that we talk about all the time, because we've shaved some things off because some of it's exactly that way. So before we go on, this is the first five. The way we normally do this is if we can get a motion that we're good with these, and then that'll give Ms. Colvin a lot of clarity then we'll go down through the next.
So move that we, propose funding these as submitted by the,
For the first
Five.
five.
Is there a
First
second?
five.
All right. Oh, no, we don't have a, so we'll vote, do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Do it, we do them in groups of five?
Yeah.
That. Okay, next we have the Child Health Partnership, used to be CHIP. They,
Well, can I suggest something?
yes, sir.
There's a bunch of zeros that are flat funded in here.
Yes.
Well, no, all the zeros, yes, all the zeros are flat funded. We could also do it like that if you want. I think we've done it like that
Yeah,
before.
we have.
Is what we've done.
Whatever. We got 2 new members, so I just want to make sure everybody's
You want to
comfortable.
keep doing them in groups of five?
Yeah, let's show them in groups of 5.
Okay,
That way
that's fine.
they've got a good idea with it.
Okay. So Child Health Partnership requested an additional $1,218 over last year. The Finance Committee was okay with that. Have any questions on that one?
Now, keep going till somebody interrupts you.
Till somebody says something, okay. Foothills Child Advocacy Center, they requested $27,765. We've never funded those before. The Finance Committee said, no, let's not add a new one this year, so. Okay, next. The Louisa County Resource Council, they asked for $90,000, which was what we funded last year, so no increase. MACA, the Monticello Area Action Agency, they requested $38,000 last year, $40,000 this year for an addition of $2,000. Finance Committee was okay with that. Region 10, last year was $315,264. Of that amount, $145,000 was general fund. Everything above that was using opioid abatement money, meaning that they had to spend it a certain way towards opioid treatments, opioid training, Narcan, anything that's on the
And the
list available.
77's because they don't have
They don't
anybody
have
hired.
that. And so this year, the Finance Committee recommended the 433 that they asked for, but I request that we do the 145,000 again out of general fund. Anything above it, make them use it for the opioid funds. We can use those funds, if you're
Move
okay
we
with
approve
that.
those five.
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Then we move on down to JABA. They had requested last year $282,566, this year $296,684. The Finance Committee recommended just a $10,000 increase instead of the $14,128 increase. So the recommended amount's $292,566. The Commission on Aging, that last year was $9,000, this year $8,500. The Finance Committee recommended 0, but there were reasons for it, moving different things to different departments within the county. So pretty much they do their Christmas lunch, the Yellow Book, and maybe a survey. And we thought Parks and Rec
Parks and Rec will take over the
could
service.
help take care of those
To
things.
your point earlier, there's a lot of duplication here, so.
Right, and if I may make, I'm on that Board on Aging. The first meeting will be Wednesday, so I'm interested to see. And
Good for you.
I will definitely give y'all feedback on that at our next meeting.
Is that,
We're still gonna do the Christmas lunch, still gonna do the Yellow Book, we're doing through Parks and Rec.
And that's who they would work with.
but they know that?
They're gonna find out when he reports to the meeting.
I mean, to me, that's one of the most important agencies we got, and, I
Well,
don't wanna.
well, they do we're not doing away with them. We're
I
taking their
realize
funding.
that.
We're taking their funding for the dinner and for the Yellow Book and send it to Parks and Rec.
A couple years
don't
ago,
agree
y'all
with that.
did like decommission them, but we set them back up because Mr. Gentry had requested it. So, but I don't know all the details in it, but that was pretty much the same 3 things.
If it's been explained to them, I mean, I just can't see cutting, Commission on Aging.
What's that?
I think that Mr. Wood going Wednesday, I think. So he gonna be the messenger on Wednesday.
So I'd put a circle around that one.
Okay.
I'll let you know, Tom, what they say.
I'm talking about if we're voting on it now,
We
then
can
I'm
wait
not
on
gonna
that
vote
one.
for that.
Okay, keep
All
going.
right, while we going, sweet,
Let's finish the 5 and then we'll.
I'm in the 5.
Okay, so Shel,
Jobber,
Okay.
oh, okay,
all
Java.
right. Now, what's not getting done? I see we granted some what's the 4128 is preventing us from doing?
Okay, let me find.
She has it. I
They're
don't
right
know.
up really quick. Okay, so that's an increase in salary support, 5% increase for salaries for support services, and increase in occupancy expenses is what that additional money's
And
for.
part of the thinking there, Mr. Barnes, was that we probably should not support salary increases on outside agencies in excess of what potential salary increases would be for county and school employees.
Okay. All right. Okay. I got a better understanding of that. Okay.
Who we are? Or Shelter for Help.
Any
excuse me.
other questions? Okay. Shelter for Health and Emergencies, they requested $18,000. Last year was $17,324 for increase of $676. The Finance Committee was okay with that. Offender Aid and Restoration, they requested $26,509. Last year was $24,100 for a difference of $2,409. The Finance Committee was okay with that one.
Changes going on there.
Yeah.
She doesn't work there anymore, and they're gonna have to hire more people to fill her spot, because she worked about 65 hours a week.
Gotcha.
And y'all think that these do what they say in the narrative that we got? in our
Oh, yeah, they
booklet?
do.
The OAR do.
They really
Saves us
do.
money
Yeah.
by
We are
keeping
does.
people out of prison.
Prison.
jail.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The
So- so it's
recidivism
doing
rate
that. Costs us
versus
much
the
more.
ones that go through,
Pretty amazing.
what's her name?
Lisa Rangers.
Yeah, Lisa Ranger's
Oh, no,
program
that's not this
versus the
one.
ones that don't.
That's not
Huge
that one.
difference.
Okay.
That's not Lisa Ringers.
It is a huge difference. She works that, yeah.
This one's not Lisa. So ACE, 8,000, and that's flat funded from last year, and the Finance Committee was okay for that. John, we've got to be
Hold
determined.
on, that's,
Stop it there.
So moved.
Okay.
do we want to include Commission on Aging?
You can-
Mr. Barlow had an issue.
Let's just pull
You
that
wanna
one out
Pull that one
separate.
out,
Pull that
let
one out.
Mr. Woodward talk to them, and then come back at the next meeting?
Well,
I move that we pull Commission on Aging
well,
out.
I'm happy to pull it out separate and vote separate on it, but if we can get a unanimous on the other four, we can come back and I can vote on that one today too, if you want me to.
All right, let's pull out the 4 that we all agree on.
Okay.
And then come back and deal with Commission on Aging.
I move we approve those four.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, motion passes 7-0.
I can make a motion if you wanted to on the Commission on Aging, because we're not cutting the service. We're not saying they can't do it. We're saying it's getting funded a different way. So I'm really okay with that. We're not saying they're not going to do the work. We're not saying they're not going to make a yellow book. We're not saying they're not going to have a dinner. We're just saying we're not funding it through the commission. It was funding through Parks and Rec.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
I'm not gonna say at the end of the day, I'm not gonna agree with you, but I would like to give Mr. Woodward and Mr. Barlow opportunity
Okay.
to explain that to the group first and then bring that back.
All right. I'm happy to hold on that one if you want to.
All right, so we'll wait for you to report back at the next.
Because we're also going to
budget
hold, we recommend to hold on the next one because we don't have all the information yet.
Right.
Yeah. So John, we're waiting, last year, if you remember, when Mr. Reek was here, they gave us a rebate 2 years ago from, excess surplus for fund balance from savings. And then last year, they gave us a rebate back from savings, budgeted savings. So they had suggested in what they had told us that they hope to do it this year as well, but they just got their audit. And so they will meet on their board meeting on February 14th and determine if there will be a rebate to localities or not. So we're kind of waiting for that number. So that's
Okay.
why that says TBD.
So we're going to skip that one and pick up the next five.
Okay, next we have Virginia Career Works. Last year, 7,672, this year 7,945 for an increase of 273. Finance Committee was okay with that. Louisa Reentry Cancel, last year was 42,000, this year was 56,392 for a difference of 14,392. This is the one where Lisa's retiring and she was
Yeah.
working a lot of hours, so that was what this was, and the Finance Committee was okay with that one. Fluvanna Louisa Housing, 45,000 last year. They requested 155,000 this year. The Finance Committee recommended 55,000 this year.
I think I'd like to revisit this one and discuss this, because I think that I really think we're underfunding them. I believe they're doing a lot more than we know. I think we should have Kim come in and talk to us as a board. I also believe that if we had to fund what they are doing and have a department within the county, we couldn't do it for 55,000. So I would like for Kim to come in and address the board about that funding there.
And we can do that. I think, Mrs. Cohen, according to their supporting documentation, most of this additional money was for additional staff, was it not?
It is.
So,
It is, and it's needed.
Okay, I'll put a wait for y'all to discuss that one further, and I can always, at the end of the night, anybody y'all want to talk to, I can bring in.
all right, so that's 5. We're going to hold,
Oh, is that fine?
That's not 5, is it?
yeah. that's
1,
5.
2, 3, it's 4.
Isn't it?
Piedmont Housing Alliance was
No, you-
7,000.
No, you gotta
Am I
skip John,
counting
because
wrong?
John's a hold. You don't have nothing to vote on
Count
John.
John, okay.
So it's only 3. I think it's
Okay,
only
so we
3.
want 5 that we vote on. Okay, so, well,
You got 2
Piedmont
more.
Housing Alliance, they are asking for the same amount as last year, $7,000, and Finance Committee was okay with it, if you guys are. And then Piedmont Community College, last year they requested $5,945, this year $5,859 for a decrease of $86,000. So they were.
$86.
$86, yes, thank you, sorry, I'm reading wrong. $86.
That's 5, sir.
Can I go ahead and do J. Sargent Reynolds too, because they're little? I don't-
That's 5.
Okay, J. Sargent Reynolds Community College, they're operating, they asked for an additional $634, and their capital $1,769, and Finance Committee was okay with that as
So
well.
that's 6 if you
Yeah.
pulled it.
Required by code, right?
Capital's required by code, and the operating's based on the number of students from Louisa County.
So that's 6 if you pull out the Housing Foundation.
Do we have a motion?
So moved. To approve.
All right. Been properly moved and saying that we approve those. We do pull the Housing Foundation out. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. The Ag Fair, $7,500 last year, $7,500 this year for no change, and the Finance Committee was okay with that. That pays for mostly their insurance. Louisa County Historical Society, last year, $42,500. This year, they requested $42,500. The Finance Committee recommended not funding them this year.
I'm going to ask that we readdress this one and look at funding them. I think we
Well-
need to look at this as a community and separate ourselves from other events that have happened and look at what they do as a community for us. And so I do think that we need to revisit this one.
Might need to revisit. You can visit it right now.
Okay?
Rachel, what do you think would be a amount that you would be comfortable
Use
with?
your motion.
Rachel, what do you think an amount that you would be comfortable with?
Well, I think cutting their funding by 42,000 is just, it's gonna hurt the community in the long run. I think that we need to come to a number, and we do have a responsibility to fund them. We have been funding them. I know that there was some controversy with them this year. I do believe that they are trying to work forward and move forward from this. I do think, though, with the events and the community activities and what they do, that we should throw out a ballpark figure, and they should get some funding from us.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I did have a meeting with them today. Are there any coincidences? I don't know, but I happened to have a coincidental meeting with them
last
today.
week, too.
It looks like, and Finance Director Colvin, you could correct me, $115,000 is their budget per year?
I can pull the exact number. I do know we were funding them like, it was either 7,500 or 8,500. I was going to try to look it up. It was, and then we upped it last year to give an opportunity to see how that works. So,
I would perhaps make a motion to consider a $5,000 amount.
I agree.
Got a second?
Is that
Second that.
Historical Society?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll just pause our little five group here. If we're going to address this right here, we'll address it right here.
So you're saying go from 42.5 or 0 to 5,000?
That's the motion that's on the floor. Yes, sir. All right, any discussion? All right, we're going to do, because I'm not sure this is going to
Let's
be
put this one on.
unanimous, we're going to do this by, we don't have anybody here, but, so we'll do a roll call. Mr. Goodwin, can you conduct a roll call for us?
Absolutely. Mr. Woodward?
4.
Mr. Barnes?
Against.
Mr. Barlow?
Go last?
You want to go last? That's not the way the roll call works, sir.
We gave them 42.5 last year, we're cutting it to 5.
And we gave them, we're cutting it, we proposed cutting it, our committee said 0. We did 7,500 the year before. They have made a motion and put on the floor and said 5,000.
Well, wait a minute.
That is
wait a
all the
minute.
answers, sir. That's
I
all,
wonder-
that's all the derivatives.
We're doing the Historical Society?
Yes, sir.
Historical Society, yes.
They asked for 42.5, which is what we gave them last year. The year before, we gave them 7,500, and the Finance Committee is proposing 0, and Mr. McCotter and Ms. Jones have motion on the floor for 5,000.
I like, yes.
Mr. Adams?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. McCotter?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-3.
All right, $5,000.
So $5,000
Yes, ma'am.
there.
So let's take the other 4 in the block and be done. I move we approve it, and I vote yes on it. I'm going to take a phone call.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion? All those in favor on those 4 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Did we just count down so many?
Pardon me?
We only had, I'm sorry, I got lost. I apologize.
How far?
only
All right, so Ag Fair, I had Ag Fair by its little self, and I'm gonna assume y'all were okay with that. And then y'all voted for 5,000 for Historical Society. That's as far as I had gone. So what are the other 3?
I think he's wrong. I think it's.
Because we'd already approved those
We'd already
others.
approved the
Okay,
others, yeah.
okay.
So
Just
we'll
making sure I'm
wait.
not
Let's-
lost.
Well, let's keep going.
Well,
I
what we
mean,
can do is the
He knows what
ones-
the Finance Committee has
Yeah, he was the
recommended.
Finance Committee, so he would be okay. So we next have the Art Center. We've been funding them for 60,000. This year they asked for 80,000. The Finance Committee recommended leaving it at 60,000.
Does anybody have any questions on that before? I mean, that's the big one in this block. Does
Mm-hmm.
anybody have any questions on that? That's historically been the funded amount. We've kind of had that, we're 6 years past the original agreement, which was, but they have stepped up in the last number of years and do a good job, and that's kind of been where we said we would freeze that funding.
I
So,
know they are trying desperately to bring acts in, but I didn't realize that they had requested 80, another $20,000 increase. So we're talking about leaving it the same.
yes, sir.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yes, sir. All right, Ms. Coleman.
Okay. Next is the Jefferson Madison Regional Library. Last year, $407,237. This year, $433,257. The Finance Committee was okay with that. The difference was $26,020. And most of that was for some compression they were working on. The bookmobile had a little bit in there, and then some regional costs went up a little bit.
So I think we ought to flat fund that one.
You have the power to make a motion.
Well, I'll make that motion. I move, we leave it at what they were.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, in just a second, the motion we're voting on, Mr. Barlow, Mr. Barlow would like to flat fund the Jefferson Madison Regional Library.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I ask the finance director a question?
sure, absolutely.
Okay. Relative to that motion, you had mentioned that the library had some increased costs. Are there any specifics that you can share with us on that, or not?
Yes, so the 26,000 comes from an increase to the county share of the regional cost for $1,843. So their overall cost as a region's going up. The cost to run the bookmobile last year is going to increase, that we put in place last year is going up $490. And then the local increase cost is $17,379, which are for salary and staff increases. And then there was a credit we used to get for a little bit of money that we no longer get, so then the gap from that was like $6,000. So the total budget was 6.4, but most of it's salaries.
Thank you.
Any other questions? You all have any questions? Then we'll call for a
No.
vote. All right, so the motion on the floor is to flat fund the Jefferson Madison Regional Library to amount of $407,237.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to have a roll call vote on that.
All right. Mr. Goodwin?
Start from the other end of the church.
Start with the vice chairman, just let him off the hook right off the
You
bat.
want to vote first time, and then we'll be so controversial for
Going
you.
the other way this time. Mr. McCotter,
No.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Right?
Yeah. flat
That's
funding.
what you voted for.
Mr.
No.
Does everybody understand the motion?
Flat funding, you're voting to flat fund
Yes.
the library.
Vote is to you.
407,237, so
Yes
that
or
would
no?
Okay.
take
Mr.
the
Adams.
increase out. No.
Mr.
Yes.
Barlow, Mr. Barnes,
No.
Mr. Woodward.
Yes.
All right, that vote fails 3-4. Sorry.
Okay.
We'll practice this.
The
Alright.
433, 257 stands.
Yeah, 433,
Okay.
257.
The amount they asked for, got, it, okay. And are we gonna come back to the art center, or once we get five more?
I'm still waiting for the Starbucks to show up. I just want to go on record and say that.
No,
I remember
don't-
that day.
I don't think there was any issue with the flight.
No,
Art
there
Center
wasn't, we
being
just hadn't
flat
voted on,
funded.
I
Yeah,
can wait and do
we'll-
that with the rest.
We'll
'cause
put
the
it in
rest
the
were-
block unless
okay.
anybody has an
Okay.
objection to that.
All right. So Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, 52,283 was last year. This year they're requesting 54,493 for an increase of 2,210, and the Finance Committee was okay with that.
I guess that's,
Yep. And the Central Virginia Partnership for Economic Development, last year 19,182, this year 19,862 is the ask for an addition of $680. The Finance Committee was okay with that. Central Virginia Small Business Development Center, last year 22,415, this year the request 23,841 for an addition of 1426, and the Finance Committee was okay with that.
All right, let's stop right there.
Stop right there, okay.
All right, so the motion that the chair would look for,
is to approve them as recommended by the Finance Committee, so moved.
Second.
Okay, so we'll stop on that one.
Because we decided not to flat fund the library, so it's a recommendation from, yes,
correct.
gotcha.
Any discussion?
So the library is included in this?
Yes, sir.
Pardon me? Yeah, the library would be, is on the sheet of paper.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay,
Okay.
that brings us down to the IDA.
Small Business Development Center, was that in
You
that
did-
It's in there.
block?
that.
Okay, just making sure.
Last three.
IDA, and so last year, 331,556, this year, 434,291, for a difference of 102,735. Part of that is economic development incentives that we pay to, that, because of the agreements we have with CVAC and Klockner, and we pay that each year for so many years until that's done. So this is the estimates I have, and
So
then they
that's-
had some.
Everybody remember, that's you collect the tax money, and you gotta give it back to the IDA to give it back to them? Everybody remember that?
Yeah.
People looking at me like I got three heads. You understand, Mr. Barlow? When we did Klockner up here, we had a tax rebate incentive for that. So
Tax
the money has to, tax rate has to go back through the IDA. It was only a percentage. We're still winning. We're just not winning as big as we would be winning for a certain number of years. Is that accurate, Ms. Colvin?
It's 10 years or until we get to a certain amount.
Was, it's Klockner, is CVAC
It's
in there? as well?
CVAC, I remember CVAC's, theirs was either 500,000 or 10 years, whichever comes first. Klockner, I believe, was 500, but I don't want to say that because I'm not positive, but it was an agreement that's already been approved, so we have to do it.
Okay, no.
Now, the other difference in here is for maintenance at the IDA, so that's what the other difference is. And the Finance Committee was okay with the ask.
Anybody
Because
have any
you got
questions on
to
that
give the
one?
rebate, so you don't have a choice.
yeah.
We've already contractually obligated ourselves to do that. But there's income associated with the other side of the ledger that you're not
Yeah.
seeing.
Exactly.
More income than there is expense.
All right, let's move on to,
Okay. The Thomas Jefferson Soil and Water District, their last year amount, 52,705. They asked for 54,286 this year for a difference of 1,581, and the Finance Committee was okay with that. And then the Lake Anna Advisory Committee, 17,000 this year, 17,000 last year. That does include LACA's money, because remember, y'all voted to have them make their requests through LAC. And so it's part for LAC and part for LACA, but it all runs through the Lake Anna Advisory Committee to manage. And the Finance Committee was okay with that. So that's the last one I have there. If y'all want to talk about those three, the last three.
any questions for Ms. Colvin? All right, Chair looks for a motion. Got a motion, we got a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
So if I have just, to summarize, we have approved everything as recommended with the exception of the Commission of Aging, Jaunt, and the Housing Foundation.
That's what I have.
We asked
Just want to
them,
summarize.
we'll schedule, do we have a budget workshop scheduled before the next board meeting?
We don't have one at the next one. I can set one up. The next one I had scheduled was March 4th, but if you want them sooner, we can do a work session next time, maybe at 4 o'clock instead.
I don't know that we need to hear anybody, but the, which one?
The Housing Foundation
one,
is
yeah.
the one I think that we
But the
need.
Commission on
John-
Aging we don't need to hear, and Jaunt we don't need to hear.
We
should
don't need to
back
hear
from Jaunt,
John, we're
yeah.
just waiting to get
We're
back.
just waiting
for the
and
For the negotiations that we did last year.
Really, we just need one.
So,
should we ask her to come to the board meeting?
No.
no.
Okay, then we can do a work session, a half an hour, like 4:30 to 5, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think does anybody think we need more than half an hour? All right, let's schedule it at 4:30 on the
Before the next meeting?
19th.
Is that the Tuesday? I think so.
Yes.
Oh, wait a
Tuesday the
minute.
20th.
We have a
President's Day, are
holiday.
we closed? Is the county closed
Yes.
on President's
Your
Day?
next meeting is Tuesday, the 20th.
Yeah,
Funny.
good to know.
What? Is that a thing? Mm-hmm. There's way too many holidays in this country.
How many holidays they get on?
How many did we get? We get 4. Oh, you meant, I thought you meant us.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I don't see the Louisa County Rotary Foundation Imagination Library on
You don't, sir.
it. Did they withdraw that?
They did not. We gave it to the schools. We're funding it through the schools. The school's going to oversee the program. And I'm sorry, we should have mentioned that because we pulled that from the list and we didn't. That's an oversight on our part. It's going to be administrated through the schools and through Mr. Straley and the schools, and that's where it's going to end up, sir.
All right. Are we funding 10,000 for that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
No.
The schools are funding it.
Schools are going to fund it. So it's gonna come through the schools.
And we are not funding 10,000. We are funding the percentage, the 25% up to $10,000. We got that very clear with Mr. Hanley the other day. It was because the state pays for 50 and somebody pays for 25%. And he's looking for the other 25% from us up to $10,000. That's the agreement, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So next.
We felt like it better fit in the school.
Yeah.
Next, you'll have in front of you a copy of the capital improvement plan. And I do want to note one change on it before we get into the columns on here.
We're looking at this one? CIP.
Yes, so I have a column for the next 5 years. We have a plan that goes out 20, but this is only for the next 5, because this is what the, planning commission will vote on and what you guys will vote on. And only the 1 year of 25 is what you actually vote on. Everything else we look at every year. But the schools got quotes for the middle school and the CTE center, so I have changed the amounts on here to match their quotes. So that's up a little bit, but that's the only change that you'll see in the requested columns on here. And so we had just a handful. The things you see in yellow are recommendations of the finance committee to possibly look at, kind of changing a little bit. The first thing you'll see is on the fire and EMS section, the volunteer stations. Right now, they just send us all their requests. The idea of doing it this way is giving a pot of money, like $300,000 a year, and letting the MOG decide what they fix and what needs to be fixed, and prioritizing. They can do it with a cost share where everybody gets so much. They can do it where they rank the projects. They can do it however they wanted, but we were gonna let the finance committee decide. But instead of funding a bunch of projects every year, if we give like a certain pot of money, like $300,000 a year, to the MOG to decide which stations, what's the priority, that was kind of what was discussed with that. So you'll see that I zeroed out the individual projects and added a pot of money out each year for your discussion.
And we're really not going to vote on this.
No,
because
we're not
it's
gonna
got-
vote on
it's
this
gotta go to Planning
tonight.
Commission.
Planning Commission will see this, on this Thursday. And they'll see the original request. They don't necessarily see the finance committee stuff, but they'll get the original request to vote on the projects themselves. And then,
That's the same process that has been put in place with the MOG for the apparatus replacement. That they decide amongst themselves where that, what is it, 600 or 650,000 we do for apparatus replacement?
well, it's
Seems to be
now,
whatever's needed.
yeah, it's
It does-
whatever's
yeah,
needed.
it doesn't seem
and
to have a
they-
cap, that's true.
Yeah,
But that's because that apparatus continues to go up.
and yes, it does. And our career staff also use it, so it just funds what,
So I wanted to add that really, well, for everybody, that's different, but especially for Mr. McCotter and Mr. Woodward.
and then the only other change that's recommended by the Finance Committee is the skate park is just to move it out 1 year. To move it out from 25 to 26, while some of the other projects are being worked on. And
Mr. Chair,
then,
I'm sorry,
no, go ahead.
Ms. Carvin, I certainly understand why the Finance Committee, made that recommendation. But I do want to make sure that for those of you that may not be on the board, there was a promise made to those, citizens when we put the health thing back in the back, that we would replace that skate park. And so, like anything else, I know one board does not commit to another board, I'm understanding that. But those people were told that we would put that park back. So I'd like to see if we could, in the CIP savings we got, we look at maybe being able to do it in that year, because there's a lot of citizens, a lot of young kids that's really missing that park. And the public was led to believe that we would replace that.
Well, Mr. Barnes, we're not saying we're not going to replace it. We're just saying it sure does
Oh, yeah, I
cash
know.
flow a lot better next year. We have $83 million in CIP this year. You're going to have to float some school bonds to cover the majority of it. You're going to get over to operating, and you're going to find the operating hole size is $4.8 million.
Is it, it's $4,733 and
Really close to 4.
No.
We'll call it 4.7. It rounds down
They'll say that.
technically, so.
I'd like to agree with Supervisor Barnes. I do believe that we made a promise, and we have citizens coming again tonight to talk about that promise, and I've been working with the citizen all weekend on it. And I do believe that pushing it out just shows our lack of caring or interest towards Parks and Recreation, towards giving youth other activities to do. I believe that we need to stand behind that board and the promise that was made, keep it in 2025, not move it to 2026.
Mr. Chairman, and I'm not talking about moving it. I just want to make sure that we put a definite, if it's next year, we let the public know, we're going to do this next year.
Yeah.
I understand how tight funds are, but I'm just want to make sure that we have a definite date and that parents that comes and listen, we will do this next year, and let them know that.
No, and I would just add, and, I mean, all these are great points, right? But if you look at the requested 25 fiscal budget for Parks and Rec, it's a little over 1.5 million. Finance Committee recommends this year 1.1, a little over 1.1, 1.13. Projected requested fiscal year 2026 is $12.6 million. So I think the commitment is there, and the recognition, I'm sure that number will change as we go into next year's budget process. But you're right. I've met with those folks. They do have that expectation. Whether we do it this year, next year, we can make that decision after it comes back to us. But I do think the board's committed to doing it. It's just, it's a tight money year. I'll just leave it at that. But, okay, Ms. Colvin?
Okay, those, unless y'all want to talk about different projects or anything on here, those were the adjustments that the Finance Committee recommended for your review. The actual CIP that stands in 25 will go to the Planning Commission on Thursday for the $83,837,000. And so unless you have any questions on those, that's just more for your review, and then we'll move on to operating.
The school projects, Ms. Carvin, be bonds.
Yeah, so we're recommending of the school projects, the CTE Center, the addition at the middle school, and there's some engineering work, architectural work for those projects. All those will be rolled together into school bonds.
Mr. Chair.
And then the water,
Again,
the Lake Anna wastewater treatment plant expansion, if that is ready to move forward and that stays in here, we would also issue bonds for that.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Mr. Chairman, we've been working, and it's not ready for prime time, but we're trying to get it ready. So we have $20 million worth of bonds we're going to float this year for the Shannon Hill project and your field, sir, and what else?
That's it.
That's it, those two things. Those bonds, at year 10, you can call and pay them. We anticipate trying to set up a fund, taking some Amazon money so it doesn't just disappear. I know how easy it is to spend $110,000 here because it's a good cause and $10,000 here because it's a good cause, and next thing you know, you start making millions. So we're going to set that up in a fund so that we can set it aside. Now, we can't encumber the funds, and any board can change any day they want to, but we're going to put the intent is in year 10 is to take that bond out and have with a savings account that we set up. Unfortunately, I'm going to leave with unfortunately, you have no right to pay your school bonds off early. They will carry for the entire 30 years. Now, there's another little trick that we're trying to get played, and the General Assembly's working on it down there right now. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, and Tammy's taking notes over there, so that's great. So if the General Assembly passes where you can increase your sales tax by 1 penny, that's going to make $6.8 million a year, mostly paid by people that don't live in the county, shop at Walmart and Lowe's, and a lot of those places that we collect a lot of, some within the county, but a lot of people that pass through here maybe don't live here. That money can only be spent for school construction. So I've spoken with Mr. Straley. We're moving forward on the middle school project. If that passes in July, we're not going to bond it till the fall bond pool. But that's got to go on a referendum, potentially, if I'm understanding things correctly.
That's right.
Did I get that right?
The
Yeah,
sales
that'd be
tax
right
goes
in
on
front.
referendum.
So keep that in mind, because while we can't pay off the school bonds early, we could certainly potentially pick that money up every year, which is 1 penny is $6.8 million, which would pay for that 30-year term. So keep that in mind. We're plotting and hatching on that one, but potentially we might ask potentially for a referendum to go out and let the people decide and do that. So
For the sales tax.
potentially, yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Just making
Mr.
sure I
Chair.
understand.
Mr. Woodward?
Mrs. Coleman, the addition to the middle school and the CTE center figures there, do those include equipping them?
Equipping them, like,
This is just the construction, or does it include desk and whatever else? I don't remember.
I
think it's
don't
only construction, if I remember
know.
right.
If it's only construction.
Yeah, I think so. It's the building, I
Number did
believe.
we land on the middle school in here?
The middle school is 29,470,000.
So the middle school includes some science center upgrades, includes a gymnasium expansion, includes the HVAC upgrades because they've never been changed out, and the middle school addition. The CT center is, of course, the CT center. So
Is this figuring it as a two-story CTE center?
it is.
It is. Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Wood. I think we'll get an opportunity, we need to look at those soft costs.
They've submitted in their request what it'll be. It won't be in '25 because it's going to take the year to build it. So they will request that
In
in
the next
'26.
Yeah, it'd be really poor form to finance a desk over 30 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
But if you remember when Fluvanna built their new middle school, they didn't figure anything.
Oh, no, we're going to get them. This is our
But
building
don't-
bond cost.
Don't forget, all the trailers have desks and equipment that we
That's
have
true.
classes and
Those
such.
are mobile learning
So
centers?
the mobile learning centers, the pods. The pods have
Trailer
a lot of
shares.
equipment in there
She
too.
was gotten kicked
so.
out of school back in the day.
Yeah.
The pod.
I am pretty.
It was fun hearing it, Tammy.
You know, that's a great point, though.
The pod, Tammy, the pods.
Mr. Woodward makes, is you, as you go through this budget, and the board quickly realizes, 60% of this budget goes to education. And then about 15% goes to emergency services. all of those things have continual ongoing costs. You know, you build the building, then you have to equip it, then you have to supplies and CT. So
Get staff.
it's an ongoing cost or investment in education. But, you know, when people look at this 29 million, I think, yeah, 29.4 million, that's just a construction cost. Then you have the other on top of it.
Two more janitors, you probably gotta have,
Another assistant principal.
you probably gotta have some more, cafeteria staff to serve the extra people, so yeah, it's everything.
Another SRO.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Do for the CT center.
Well, any other questions on this?
Good job, Ms. Colvin.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
And then the operating budget, I kind of, at the last board meeting, just went into some higher end details, because we don't have state numbers or federal numbers or anything like that, but I wanted you to see where the column that says department requested, I filled in what we will need to use of fund balance at the bottom of the back page, funding all of it, how much the bonds will be for the projects, the 3 projects we talked about. And then the schools had mentioned that they wanted to use some of their long-term capital money to keep some positions they added during the COVID years to keep, because they still want to get, you know, the kids back to where they need to be. So I added that in as well. And then the column under finance committee adjustments, that just shows with what was discussed, what it changes the fund balance, what we'll need to use out of the fund balance too. I have to tweak it based on
What's
tonight.
that number of the fund balance?
It's with department requests without any changes, 4,733,000. And if we make the changes that we talked about in the capital and the, and like I said, there's a couple here I'll need to tweak, but 3,403,000 if we go with the finance committee. So it's still some fun, and we're still tweaking it. Maybe there's gonna be more state funding. Maybe
But
there's
that's
gonna be.
operating, right?
I'm waiting for the next maybe. Maybe there's gonna be more state funding, she said. What's the next maybe?
All right, the next maybe we'll go through and find some savings. I've been digging. I'm
Doubtful.
trying. I'm
Doubtful.
trying.
Yes.
Come on, don't sell us
Oh, you
short.
can find savings, you just gotta start doing something with less. Hey,
And that is.
no more pencils for up here at the desk, DS. Bring your own pencil.
I brought a pen.
I got my own pen. How much that gonna save?
I
County
love my
money was
pencils.
expended on
Don't
the
get rid of the
Valentine's
pencils.
Day decoration also.
yours?
I put-
Is that yours personally?
It's not mine personally. It's a family, but not mine personally.
He brought his own.
Heirloom.
It is a member of the family, but it's
family
not
heirloom.
mine personally.
So that's all I had, unless y'all have more questions or anything y'all need me to research, and I will set up that work session for the next.
Well, we all talk too fast because we have an hour
I
and
know,
5
that was
minutes
quick.
together. Yeah?
It
done
only
good,
takes
though.
longer.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I know, we got work to do, but, I really, want to thank you all, the Finance Committee and Ms. Carvin. I've done the budget several times, and this method makes it so much, smoother, to do a budget. And, Mr. Woodard and Mr. McCarter, don't know the pain that we've had before doing budgets. And,
I don't think we need to. Thanks
but,
to you.
a lot of hard work in there, and I like to thank those guys for doing that. And young lady.
Hours of bickering.
Where's it, what?
Hours of bickering.
There is a lot of bickering. We should video and we could sell it and
We could
make
sell
money.
it.
But,
Maybe we could fund the deficit with it. Maybe
yeah.
we could TV show.
And
County,
There
county,
you go.
real county government. Oh, we could get millions off this thing.
Hey,
We
Manny,
could
you might
syndicate
remem-
that.
Manny might remember this. I've told Tony, and we still on TV?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember the days that the board would walk in, school board meeting, say, you got 3%, we'll see you tomorrow. Chris, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
So you got 2%, see you tomorrow.
Well, does anybody else have any comments before we close it? I will say, it's very nice of you to say about the Finance Committee, but there is a tremendous amount of work that Mrs. Colvin and her staff, Mr. Goodwin and his staff put into this. We're very fortunate to have people who
That's true.
care so much about this budget, to steward the taxpayers' money. We still get in that room and have some very interesting conversations, but the foundation that comes in So I've said it to you privately, I'll say it to you publicly, to you and your staff, thank you. To you and your staff, thank you.
All credit to Wanda, any
it,
mistakes are mine.
We have a
And
great team.
It does, and I appreciate personally, I won't speak for Mr. Williams, but I think this is the 5th year I think I've been on the Finance Committee. You know, you all put a lot of faith and confidence in what we do, and we take that very seriously. And I think at the end of the day, we come out with something that we can all, whether even if we don't agree, that we can work with, and it's a good basis to move forward. So,
But prime example this afternoon, we had some different an opinion on what we thought we should get funded. We voted on it.
We
One
worked
went
through
4-3, one went 3-4. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the way the organized government works.
that's right, that's right.
Supposed to.
It's supposed to work. Anybody have anything else? If not, I'm going to close this work session, and we'll just come back at 5 o'clock.
I'll just continue to tweak the operational budget as I get better data, more information, stuff like that from different sources, so, and I'll continue to share that with you.
All right. Thank you. All right, work session is over. We'll reconvene at 5 o'clock too.